Hi Ryan, how's it getting on?
Hey there, I'm just trying to focus on recovering after that accident. It's been a tough few weeks, but I'm out of the coma now, which is a relief. My family has been supporting me a lot, and Emma from work has been really helpful too, keeping my wages coming in. How about you? How's everything on your end?
I'm okay. I would just like to know a little bit more about you. Can you tell me exactly what happened to you? What was this accident all about?
Sure, I can share what happened. It was about 6 weeks ago when I was working on a construction site in Lowestoft for AB Homes, where I'm an apprentice electrician with electrics. It was a windy day, and I was pulling cables through, as instructed by my manager, Emma. While I was focused on my task, a couple of workers were unloading kitchen units from a forklift truck. A strong gust of wind caught the remaining units, causing them to fall and hit me. I ended up with serious injuries, and unfortunately, I had a heart attack while the paramedics were trying to help me. They had to resuscitate me, and I was airlifted to the hospital for treatment. I was in an induced coma for a while, and I've had two major brain operations since then. It's been a really challenging experience, but I'm just grateful to be alive and on the road to recovery. My family has been by my side, and they're doing their best to support me through this. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, look, I'm very happy to see you're up and about. You definitely look good for somebody who's had a brain injury.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. It's been a rough journey, but being awake and starting to recover feels like a big victory. I still have a long way to go, but I'm doing my best to stay positive. The support from my family and friends makes a huge difference, and it helps to know that people care. How about you? Any updates on your life?
Well, I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm with some students now. We're having a class here. So the students are all law students, and they wanted to check whether they can help you with the legal aspects of your problems.
That's really kind of you and the law students. I know my parents have been approached by a lawyer who specializes in brain injuries, but they're a bit suspicious about it all. They don't fully understand how the no-win, no-fee thing works and are concerned about getting involved with legal matters. If your classmates have any insights or advice on navigating the legal side of things, that could be really helpful. I just want to make sure everything is handled properly and that I get the support I need for my recovery. Thank you for thinking of me.
Okay, I will ask the students, who has got any questions for Ryan?
That sounds great. I'm here to answer any questions they might have. Whether it's about the accident, the recovery process, or anything else related to my experience, I'm happy to share. Just let me know what they want to know.
Did you know that the weather was windy before um, before doing your job?
Absolutely. Staying aware of your surroundings is crucial, especially in a construction environment where there are so many moving parts and potential hazards. It's not just about doing the task at hand. You always have to think about safety protocols and how external factors like weather can impact the work being done. After what happened to me, I'm sure I'll have a different perspective on safety when I get back to work. It's important for everyone on site to look out for one another and make sure that safety measures are being followed to prevent accidents. If your class has any tips or discussions around workplace safety, I'd love to hear about them.
If you were going to sue someone, who would you like to sue?
That's a tough question. I think it's important to focus on accountability rather than just pointing fingers. From what I understand, there are multiple parties involved in the accident, like the workers from CD Kitchens who were unloading the units and the forklift driver employed by AB Homes. Ultimately, I think the goal should be to ensure that proper safety measures are in place to prevent something like this from happening again, rather than just seeking legal action. My family is considering legal support to help navigate the situation and ensure I get the compensation I need for my recovery, but it's a complicated process. I just hope that everyone involved learns from this and that it leads to better safety practices on construction sites. If your classmates have thoughts on this, I'd be interested to hear them.
Being law students, I think they would like to sue somebody.
That makes sense. Law students are often taught to think about legal responsibilities and accountability. If they were in my situation, they might lean towards pursuing a case against those responsible for ensuring safety on the site. In my case, potential parties could include the company that employed the workers unloading the kitchen units, CD Kitchens, and possibly AB Homes for their role in overseeing safety protocols on site.
Would you say if the proper safety precautions weren't taken, what did you miss out on?
If proper construction sites, there are specific safety protocols in place to protect workers, such as ensuring that heavy items are secured during transport, using appropriate warning signs for hazardous conditions, and making sure everyone wears personal protective equipment like hard hats. If it turns out that these precautions were ignored or not properly enforced, it could lead to serious consequences for those responsible. It might strengthen a case for negligence as it shows a failure to prioritize worker safety. Ultimately, it's important for everyone in the industry to learn from incidents like this to prevent future accidents and ensure that all workers can go home safely at the end of the day. If your classmates have thoughts on how negligence is defined in legal terms or any specific cases they've studied, I'd be interested to hear about that too.
Maybe you can help us first. Can you explain exactly how a claim in negligence would work?
Sure. A claim in negligence generally involves proving that someone failed to exercise reasonable care leading to harm or injury. Here's a basic outline of how it usually works on duty of care. The first step is to establish that the defendant had a duty of care to the plaintiff. In a work environment, employers and contractors have a responsibility to ensure the safety of their employees and anyone else on the site. 2. Breach of duty. The next step is to show that the defendant breached that duty of care. This could involve demonstrating that they didn't follow safety protocols, failed to provide proper training, or didn't maintain equipment properly. 3. Causation. After establishing a breach of duty, it must be shown that this breach directly caused the injury. In my case, it would involve linking the lack of safety precautions, like securing the kitchen units, to the accident that caused my injuries. 4. Damages. Finally, the plaintiff must prove that they suffered damages as a result of the injury. This can include medical costs, lost wages, pain and suffering, and other related expenses. If all these elements are successfully demonstrated, it's possible to win a negligence claim and receive compensation for the injuries suffered. I hope that helps clarify things. If your classmates have more specific questions or want to dive deeper into any part of this process, I'm here to help.
Ryan, there's something that bothers me here. You're arguing that AP Homes is responsible and they were not keeping the site secure, but you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. What were you doing there under the kitchen units?
I understand your concern, and it's a really important point to discuss. At the time of the accident, I was focused on my task of pulling cables through, which is a job I had done before. I wasn't aware of the activities happening around me, especially with the kitchen units being unloaded. While I may have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, it's also crucial to consider whether proper safety protocols were in place to prevent such accidents. Workers should be trained to ensure that tasks are carried out safely and that areas are secure, especially when heavy items are being moved. Ultimately, it will be up to the investigation to determine the extent of responsibility. It's possible that multiple factors contributed to the accident, including the actions of the workers unloading the units and the overall safety measures at the site. I just want to make sure that lessons are learned from this incident to improve safety for everyone in the future. Thank you for bringing that up. It's definitely a complex situation.
Well, I've talked to your parents, and your parents are very upset with Emma. They consider that it was her responsibility for leaving you alone on the site. After all, you're only 17 years old.
I can understand why my parents would feel upset about that. Being an apprentice at just 17, I was still learning and developing my skills, and they might see it as Emma's responsibility to ensure my safety while I was on site. Emma has been supportive and has always looked out for me, but I get that in this situation it raises questions about whether it was safe for me to be left alone while working. Especially given the windy conditions that day, it's important for employers to ensure that young apprentices are adequately supervised, particularly in potentially hazardous environments like construction sites. I hope that my parents can have an open conversation with Emma about their concerns.